We're talking mindset and gratitude and identity, and why a clean mind does work, and why your attitude shows up everywhere. Welcome back to another episode of the Tradepreneur Show. Your host, Patrick Summers, and we've got a really great topic today. We're going to be talking about the Olympics, which just ended, right? Pretty exciting Olympics, some pretty good moments in the Olympics, and some not so great moments. But there's a lot to unpack with some lessons learned. But before we get started on that, I want to, one, take a moment and acknowledge my coffee cup right here that Zach and Ryan from Stanley Ruth HVAC Company in New York City sent me. So, gentlemen, a toast to you. Thank you. All right. Now, with that said, before I get into the episode, I want to talk about the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks I've been traveling, business related. 2 weeks ago, I was in Las Vegas at the EGIA Epic 26, which a great event. It's one of the shows that I just think does a really great job. And it was interesting because I was talking to some of the vendors, and they even said how great it is the way they're treated by the EGIA team. So I met some great vendors, reconnected with some people I know, business people, and, people that work for vendors. Got to tell you, the big takeaway from that show was how quickly AI is moving into everything. And I know we see it and we experience it, and you've heard me talk about it. I was amazed how many vendors there, how many products there were foundationally an AI product, from call center software to, the ride-along software that they've got. Ask AI, I believe it is. I signed up for them. Absolutely amazed. There's another company for online quotes. Everything was tied into the AI, though. So some really great vendors, some great speakers. They always have great keynotes there. So great show. Highly recommend it. They'll have another one a year from now. So definitely check that one out. Last week, I was at the WET show. Now, before any of you get inappropriate in your mind, WET stands for Water, Wastewater, Equipment, Truck Transport Show. So that show is Indianapolis, Indiana. Second time going. If I'm looking to buy equipment, I usually go there because if it's a big purchase, usually get some sort of show special. I got a Spartan Jetter and a Pacody machine when I was there a couple of years ago. Was able to save some money, save on shipping. So I went. I'm looking for certain pieces of equipment to scale the business that I need, and didn't find exactly what I was looking for. I found some things that are further in the future, but great show. If you're into drain cleaning, portable sanitation, boring, if you're into the vacuum trucks, the vac trucks, all the heavy equipment, and they have breakout sessions and learning and really great events. So the last 2 weeks have been very busy for me with travel, just, sharpening the sword. You got to sharpen the sword and keep it sharp. And that's what that was. But I'm glad to be back in the office and, of course, doing another episode of the Tradepreneur Show. So with that said, with the Olympics over, listen, again, as I said, great Olympics, but they're over. And I'm telling you, these Olympics left us a leadership lesson the size of a Zamboni. Because what I saw was this. Energy showed up on the scoreboard. Not just talent, not just training. Energy, mindset, identity, and belief. Some athletes showed up proud and grateful, locked in. Like, I get to represent this great country, the United States of America, and this great flag I'm so proud of. They performed like it. They performed like that's what they believed, and they were proud to be there. They were clean, and they were sharp, and they were focused. And then you had others, won't name names, I'm sure you know who they are, who took the mic and basically said, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not really proud of where I'm from and what's going on in the country right now. And look, say whatever you want in your personal life. This is America. We have the ability. We have the freedom of doing that. But here's the truth. My belief, you don't get to cash the check and trash the flag. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, they're not paid. No, they're going to get lots of endorsements, and they're getting to compete representing our country. So you don't get to wear the jersey and poison the locker room. That negative energy is heavy. It slows you down, literally slows you down. And look, it can slow people down around you as well. How it impacts the people around you really has a lot to do with their own mindset and state of mind and their belief system. But you can bring others down. Just because you're a victim, you affect your entire team. But tonight, what we're talking, mindset and gratitude and identity, and why a clean mind does work, and why your attitude shows up everywhere. It shows up in your performance, in your team, in your business. It shows up in your marriage. It shows up with your kids and in your kids, all of it. So let's go ahead and get into this. And let me tell you, watching the Olympics, one of the most amazing things I saw was that, what's her name, Alyssa Liu, the skater who won gold. That was such a flawless routine. And I remember seeing her come out in warm-ups, and I could feel her energy through the TV. I could feel her energy, so it's no surprise she won gold. But well, let me just hit on it now. Then you had the other skater, forget her name. I don't even want to pay attention to her name. Who, ragged on the United States, the country she's representing. And guess how she did? Not too good, right? Would she get 13th place or something? Because here's the takeaway in that. You don't rise to the occasion. You perform at the level of your identity. And if you identify as a victim, you'll perform as a victim. If you believe you're a pro, you behave like a pro. And as I just said, if you believe you're a victim, you're going to perform like a victim. If you believe you're stuck, you act stuck, guess what? You're stuck. And if you believe you're chosen, if you believe you're destined for something, you take responsibility. You own who you are, where you are, and why you're there. I've seen this in business my whole life. I've seen it in the trades. I've seen it in all forms of business. I've seen it in social settings. But in the trades, the same tech can have the same training, same tools, same truck, same company, and one guy prints money and has customers hugging him. And the other guy is drama, callbacks, complaints, excuses, never owning the outcome or the results unless it's a good one, and always creating excuses and blame when it's on someone else. It's on someone else because they couldn't possibly be the reason for the outcome they're experiencing. It's not always skill, it's story, it's belief. And I'll give you a line that's going to sting, but it's true. Too many times, your mouth writes checks your performance can't cash. And if you talk like you're elite, but you operate like you're bitter, this is the great thing. Life will expose you. You can't hide. Complaining is nothing more than cardio for people who hate results. Feels like you did something, but nothing moved. Nothing happened. Look, your attitude, I was just talking about it today with someone on sales professionals, not just in the trades, but sales professionals in general. The professionals never complain about the leads. They never complain about the objections, the challenges. There's never excuses. The ones that are not as professional, the ones that take on a victim mentality, there's always a reason they couldn't make the sale. There's always a reason something didn't happen. And it's never them. It's never them, right? It's usually always the customer's fault. Look, when I see athletes at the Olympics wearing USA on their chest, then publicly bashing the very country that funded, trained, and sent them, it gave them the opportunity to go to the Olympics because of their hard work and dedication. They finally get there, and that's what they do. And look, I don't have to make this political. It's not political. This is a professionalism issue. It's alignment. It has to do with leadership. Listen, if you are that conflicted, you have got two options available to you. Only two. Represent with excellence, because that's what pros do, or step aside and let somebody else take the spot so you can go home and be bitter. The Olympics isn't open mic night. It's not your therapy session. It's the world stage, and this maps perfectly to business. If you work at a company, you bash it nonstop, cool. Quit, leave, go build your own thing. I respect that. But if you stay and you take the paycheck, don't rot the place from the inside. Don't poison the culture. Don't backstab leadership. Don't drag customers. Don't trash the team. And then act shocked when your career stalls. Here's the truth. Here's the real truth. You can't build a winning department while you're emotionally campaigning against your own team. And the reality is, you're campaigning against your own self, because what the mind conceives, the mind believes. And how you talk to yourself shows up in how you perform. If the brand embarrasses you, you're representing, whether it's an Olympic team, whether it's your employer, your business, whether it's friends or family, whether it's the local place you like to go to grab a beer. If the brand embarrasses you, don't wear the hoodie. Don't wear the jacket. Don't take the medal, because what you carry internally shows up in your execution. If you're resentful, you rush. If you're bitter, you don't communicate. If you're cynical, you don't prepare. And if you're angry, you make dumb mistakes. That's not motivation. That's sabotage. That's self-sabotage. See, stop for a minute and think about that. That's self-sabotage. There's no other way around it. You're sabotaging your own self. But the problem is, if you're a victim mentality, if you have an entitled mentality, you'll never recognize it. It's one of those things that to be a good leader, a great leader, a good member of society, a great member of society, a contributing member of a team, sports team, orchestra, company, you name it, you've got to be in the right place. You've got to get the trash out of your head. Look, let's look at this. The Alyssa Liu showed up with gratitude, energy, and gold medal execution. And it's amazing because one of the things she said, I remember listening to the start of her routine, and the commentator, the announcer was saying, look, she says she's not here for a medal. She's not worried about a medal. That's not why she's here. She's here to perform flawlessly. I'm ad-libbing basically what they said. And then she said, but if she shows up and performs flawlessly, she's going to get a medal. See, put her energy into being a part of the team and representing the United States of America. That's where she put her energy. Put her energy into her own personal best, her personal performance. It wasn't about a medal. It was about showing up and representing your team, your country, and performing at your best. And look what she did. She won a gold medal, executing, as far as I'm concerned, a flawless routine. But let's talk about the opposite energy. It's actually not opposite energy, but when you watched her, when I said this earlier, I saw her go out and warm up, and she had this energy you could feel. And the way she engaged with the crowd and waved and everything like that, it was absolutely amazing. It was amazing. I was like, man, who is it? I didn't even know who she was. I didn't know who she was skating for. I just was like, man, this young woman has this amazing energy about her. She was light. She had this confidence without arrogance, joy without chaos. Like she was grateful to be there. Like she understood the moment. And I'm telling you, grateful people are dangerous competitors because they don't waste energy on resentment. Think about that. They don't waste energy on resentment. How many of us waste energy on resentment? And yeah, I'm flexing and my veins are popping in my head because, Jesus, my gosh, how many of us waste energy on resentment? What? You're supposed to keep gratitude journals. They talk about if you keep a gratitude journal and how it impacts you in such a positive way. We're meant to be happy. We're meant to have gratitude. Gratitude doesn't make you soft. It makes you sharp. It makes you know what you've been through and what you've gone through and says, hey, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this very moment, as insignificant as the moment may be. This is where it gets deeper, though, with her story, because as I'm sure many of you know now, her father's story, her father fled communist China. He refused to take Chinese money for her to skate for China. Think about that. That's not a small decision. That's identity. That's values. That's we choose America, and that energy, that pride, that gratitude, purpose. It's clean. It doesn't mean life is perfect. It means your heart is aligned. Doesn't mean America is perfect. But man, we're more perfect than any other place in this world. And if you're listening in another country, I know I have listeners, I'm not saying where you live isn't great. Pride in your country is fantastic. But as an American, I got a special pride in the United States of America. Even though we're not perfect. We're not supposed to be perfect. No one's supposed to be perfect. So when she goes out and performs, right, what happens? Clear mind, grateful. She nails it. Look, in skating, clean edges, clean landings, some of those spins she did, clean transitions. In business, clean installs, clean communication, clean leadership. And look, I'm not saying gratitude is magic, fairy dust, right? It's not pixie dust. I'm saying it removes friction. Friction. When you're grateful, you're not fighting yourself. When you're grateful, you're present. When you're grateful, you execute. Let me say that again. You execute. You know phenomenal performance. You know flawless performance. And I guarantee you, Alyssa Liu saw that performance or did that performance, and she knows she nailed it, right? She knows she nailed it. But guess what? I guarantee you, she knew every moment that she didn't think was absolute flawlessly executed. Things we probably didn't notice. Maybe judges noticed. But whatever flaw may or may not have existed in her routine, it was flawless enough to get her a gold medal. And her energy, the father's energy, when his daughter, the man who came from a communist country, came to the United States, turned down money from the Chinese to have her skate for the Chinese. Man, that's powerful. You know, the opposite of what we saw with her is the negative energy, and negative energy is heavy. And as I said earlier, it slows you down, literally slows you down. You can't win gold while mentally rooting against yourself. Yeah, that's exactly what those people are doing, mentally rooting against themselves. A clean mind skates a clean program. It was amazing. If you haven't seen the routine, find it. It's online. It's on social media. Watch it. I watched it several times. It's absolutely amazing. And you can feel this energy in her, like I said. You can literally feel it through the TV or through your phone or whatever you're watching on. Now let's talk about something else. The U.S. hockey team. Man, talk about a team with pride. Talk about a team that delivered. Hockey is the perfect leadership sport. Pressure, speed, pain, fighting, teamwork, accountability, no hiding. Team USA, the women's team, beat Canada in overtime. And you see that team, the pride they had. And guess what? There was people all different walks of life on that team, different sexual orientations and things like that. But you'd never know it because nobody talked about that. They were there to align as a team and deliver results. And they did. That's what happens when alignment happens. Now let's talk about the men. The men's hockey team beat Canada in overtime with Jack Hughes missing teeth, scoring the game winner. And check this out. Look, the man got his teeth knocked out. I mean, that looked painful and brutal. Did he sit down and cry or need time away and needed to heal and mend? No, he stayed out and played. He stayed out. This was his moment. And you know what? You can only do that if you have the right energy and you have the right belief and you have gratitude. His vibe was pride, honor, and gratitude. We're Americans was his belief. We're here to represent our country. And look, again, I want to stress any country that was there, their athletes should be the same way. They're there to represent their country. Look, there's a lot of countries. There's not a single country that's not without flaws, but you represent your country. And his whole belief system, it wasn't chest thumping, right? It's his identity. Here's what I want you to catch on this whole thing. When an identity is aligned, you get composure, you get discipline, you get teamwork, you get trust. Listen, when your heart is aligned, pressure doesn't break you. Pressure reveals you. And check this out. This is kind of a fun coincidence. I'm sure you've seen this. I didn't know it. I saw it on social media. And I was like, man, we always see these coincidences. You know the coincidence you hear between Lincoln and Kennedy, right? And all those coincidences. I mean, those are some really wild coincidences. But, you know, until someone can prove otherwise, they're just coincidences. But this one, you know, I guess it's kind of a fun coincidence, except for the first Jack Hughes. But the other Jack Hughes, decades ago, got cut from the 1979-1980 U.S. team and missed the miracle on ice. He was on the team and got cut and didn't make it to the Olympics. And now, here we are, all these years later, Jack Hughes, another Jack Hughes, scores the winning goal in overtime against Canada. History didn't repeat. It rhymed. When identity is aligned, it rhymes. And I'm going to say it again because it matters. You don't rise to the occasion. You perform at your level of your identity. That's powerful. Think about that for a minute. You perform at the level of your identity. Do you identify as a grateful person? Do you identify as a deserving person, a winner, a team player, committed, disciplined, all in? Or do you identify as a victim? Do you identify as entitled? Do you identify as life's not fair. I don't get the breaks. How do you identify? Because it matters. Emotional reaction to the wins relate to team pride. How they reacted relates to their team pride. Because it's about leadership, sacrifice, and this is bigger than me. This moment is bigger than me. Even Alyssa Liu, even though she was performing on her own, the moment was bigger than her. You look, your beliefs are a thermostat. They set the temperature of everything you touch. Everything. Your mouth writes checks your performance can't cash. And if you want leadership pay, you need leadership self-control. Think about that one for a minute. I have so many people, I hear that they want this and they want that, but they haven't got what that pays. That makes sense. So listen, here's what I want to bring home in this whole thing. This isn't about athletes. This is about you and me. If you talk like a victim, you will perform like a victim. If you talk like a pro, you'll start acting like a pro. Look, in business, especially the trade, your attitude shows up in your close rate. It's going to show up in your reviews from customers, your callbacks, and reviews from teammates too. Your team's morale, your leadership credibility, your bank account. You can't be negative and elite at the same time. Pick one. You got to pick one, right? You're going to choose to be one or the other. You cannot live in both spaces. When it comes to family, think about it. You bring resentment home, don't act surprised when your house feels heavy. Your kids feel your energy before they hear your words. And don't be surprised when it's reflected back at you. Your spouse feels your mood before you speak and can reflect it back at you because you're going to create that energy in that environment. For yourself, if you want a next level year, you want a next level body, next level money, next level marriage, and stop feeding the story that weakens you. Because here's the brutal, brutal truth. I said it earlier. Complaining is cardio for people who hate results. Think about that for a minute, because there's no other purpose for it, right? Other than cardio with the mouth, flapping the lips. That's all it's doing. You gotta represent. You gotta represent. And if you don't like where you're at, change it. Change the team you're on. Change the company you're with. Change the friends you have hang around. Change it, right? And look, I'm not saying that I've not been there. I've been there many a times. I've gotten myself into a place where I need a checkup from a neck up. And sometimes it's harder to move on and out of that space than it is at other times. But at the end of the day, it takes practice like anything else. And it starts with an awareness. You have to have an awareness for where you're at and what you're going through. And I've said it in earlier episodes. Now, you have to choose if you want to stay in that moment or move on. And if you choose to stay in that moment, just know you're staying in that moment and it's your choice. No one's keeping you there. No one's forcing you to be there. And what's going to happen is you're going to have consequences to that. Or you can recognize that space and get out of that space. All right? So let me give you a simple reset tool. Help you get out of that space. 3 questions. Write these down. Use them daily. First question, what story am I telling today? Does that story make me better or weaker? And what would a professional do next? That's it. That's the playbook. Because whether it's the Olympics, your business, your family, your attitude shows up every single time. So here's my challenge today. Right now, choose the story that makes you dangerous. Choose gratitude, choose ownership, and choose alignment. And if this episode hit you, I'd appreciate you sharing it with somebody you care about, especially the person on the team who complains the loudest and wonders why they suck. So with that said, go win your day. Be great. See you on the next episode.